Good morning everyone, and welcome to Cooking School in a Box. Today's fantastic lesson is going to be how to make a chocolate cake. Chef Kolika Simmons, who is a pastry chef extraordinaire, is going to go from detail to detail to detail on mixing the cake batter, making a beautiful garnish, making wonderful whipped cream, okay, frosting the cake, slicing the cake, but it's all going to be about cake. So let's get into today's recipe. Really learn the technique so that you can take it home and make this fabulous recipe yourself. Here we go.
Hi everybody, so welcome to Cooking School in a Box. As Chef Gary said, I am going to be cooking without a mask today, and here is why. I have chosen to keep this mask on just for this introduction. I think all of you have seen that I have had the mask on for most of the things. I think you all seen us practicing social distancing. This is a moment in history right now where it is responsible, it is polite, and it is just plain common sense to wear a mask, especially indoors, especially around others. Now, everybody here is keeping their distance from me. I've made a very hard line where nobody shall cross, and that is why I can take this off. Because as long as everyone's 6 feet away and everyone else is masked, it's okay for a little. Just want to clarify, if you go anywhere outside your own home, you need to have this on, okay? So let's just make sure that we have that. So, without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to show you how to make what we call a hot water cake. I'm going to start by going over here. And when it comes to cakes, we want to focus on things like what we're going to put in them. So I'm going to be making what is called a caramel ganache filling. So this in here is half a cup of just plain granulated sugar and a little bit of salt, a little bit of vinegar, and just a couple teaspoons of water, or a tablespoon of water. I am heating this up and I am going to cover this right here, and I'm going to leave it alone for at least 5 minutes. And when you get things like caramel, it's really, really, really important. I cannot stress this enough that you guys be careful with it, because, oh my God, I don't know if you guys have ever had a caramel burn, but you don't want it. So please don't mess around with this, because this is over 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I have put, oh, look at that. It's nice and dark. It's delicious. I'm putting my butter directly in. Whoop. Woo! It burns really fast, you guys. So you see what happened while I was talking? I'm going to shove that right there. I've got it really away from me. And I'm letting it bubble. Get all that beautiful butter dissolved in there. Then I have a cup of cream. It's bubbling up. This is 1 cup of heavy cream right here. And I've already measured out 8 ounces of good chocolate. Can you use chips? Yes. But I think it's better if you use the real stuff. We're going to whisk this until everything is dissolved. Again, I'm being super, super, super careful. It's a little smoky in here. That's A-okay. We don't have the best ventilation in here. All right, now I'm going to pour this hot liquid. Got a spatula, scraping the sides very gently. Going to pour this hot liquid right over my chocolate. This is going to create our filling for our cake. The reason I am doing this first, I'm going to put this over here. Set that in your sink immediately. Don't mess with it, just leave it alone. Be safe, please. Scrape off my spatula. The reason I'm doing this first is because this is the part that takes the longest. So you do need to have some thought and planning with your cake. So I'm going to stir it really slow because that's really hot, just to get the chocolate kind of melted. And this particular filling for this particular cake that I want to do takes about 2 or 3 hours to cool to a consistency that I am happy with for spreading or coating. You can whip this up and it stays good for at least 10 days in the fridge covered. Now I'm going to approach safely. This is a beautiful, smooth consistency, but here's a tip for chocolate. Don't whip it. Just stir it. And then I want to get air bubbles out, because if you get air bubbles trapped in chocolate, it can get really sandy, and that's not the most appealing texture for a filling. So now that I know everything's totally incorporated, I'm going to put this here. And we're going to have this in the fridge, chilled, for later. Chef Gary, I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to step back because we're practicing social distancing. Thank you, Chef Gary. And again, he's wearing his mask this entire time. So next, let's concentrate on the cake, which is really what we're here for. So this is just one of those cakes that you can make that is very thrifty, very easy to do. And it's made with hot water, but it's a delicious chocolate cake, so don't discount it. So in this bowl, I've already done my, what do we call it? Mise en place. So this is, in here, 2 cups or 9 ounces of flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, and this is about half a cup or 2.5 ounces of good solid cocoa powder. This is the cocoa powder that I am using. It is from Y.W.O.M. Fun fact about cocoa powder, this is a byproduct of when you separate cocoa fat or cocoa butter from the cacao bean. So that is just what's left over, and it's a wonderful product that stays dry for however long you need it, but please use it within 6 months if you do buy some. So all of that is in there along with my salt. So that's my dry ingredients. I've already measured that out in this separate bowl. I've whisked it and sifted it together. That's all ready for me. In this pot here, I've got 1 cup of water that I'm going to boil. And right here, this is my oven. I preheated it to 350 degrees. So as you can see, I've already done a lot of prep before. In this bowl, I have 4 ounces or 1/2 cup or 1 stick of butter. In the recipe, it does say you can use oil. I prefer butter for this particular thing only because it cools down stiffer and therefore it is easier to decorate with. If you want more of a soft, moist cake, I would recommend using canola oil. This butter has been sitting out for quite some time, so it is really, really soft. And I'm using a whisk to just beat the ever-living bejesus out of it. And in this, I'm going to add 2 different kinds of sugars. Who remembers 2 different kinds of sugars from my cookie class? Anyone? No? All right. So I'm putting 1 cup or 7 ounces of granulated sugar, and I'm using my trusty scale again. Guys, buy yourselves a scale. Treat yourselves. You deserve it. So, tearing out my scale, and I'm measuring 7 ounces of this. 7 ounces is 1 cup of granulated or white sugar. So that's 1/2 cup. Yep. I measured a little heavy on that one. All the more reason to use a scale. And then this, whoop, it's gonna go over here. And now I'm using 1/2 cup of brown sugar. This helps makes the cake soft, nice and packed. Yep, exactly 3.5, yay me. All right, this, we're gonna mix it now. I can hear my water boiling. All right, so I'm stirring by hand. Yes, you can use a standing mixer or a hand electric mixer if you like, but there's just something about baking cake by hand that's just so nice. And usually you make a cake for a celebration. And isn't it such a nice feeling to show up at a celebration or just share it with your family? There's just something so special about cake. All right, all this is nice together. I'm gonna add my eggs next. 2 eggs. I have been letting that sit out at room temperature. 1 egg in. It's my trash bowl down there. Please don't just assume that I'm throwing eggs on the floor. I'm not. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. All right, next, one more egg. I can hear my water boiling. That's a good thing. Now you want your water hot for this because it activates the cocoa powder in this. Cocoa powder is a wonderful ingredient, but it dries out everything you do. So if you add it, always up your moisture content. So now my cake. And you don't have to use hot water. You can use hot coffee left over from that morning's brew, which I love. I love chocolate and coffee together. All right, so next, this is all nicely creamed together. Next, we're gonna add the secret ingredient, mayonnaise. I think this cake first came to fruition when people were still making mayonnaise at home, just so everybody knows. Mayonnaise is simply a little more than that. It's about a 1/4 cup. So that's a really big heaping spoonful of that. Mayonnaise is just egg yolks with a little bit of vinegar and lots of oil, all whipped up into a frenzy until it like triples in volume. Isn't that fun? Why am I adding mayonnaise to this? Who could think? Well, it's got some acid in it, which means it's going to go to work on the glutens and help soften it. But what else could we be using that would need a little acid? Baking soda. We remember our leaveners? Baking soda is that wonderful leavener that activates with acid because it's basic. So this is all nice and mixed in together. Now, here comes the fun part. I have my hot water right here. I'm going to turn that off. It's going to stay hot. This is your mixing method. We're just going to use about 1/3 of this. Just sprinkle it right in. I've already sifted it, mixed it together. And I'm just going to stir it until it all comes together. Something about baking cake makes you feel good about the whole world. It's a wonderful therapeutic thing to bake a cake. All right. I've got all of this mixed in. Delicious. No more lumps. Over here, is this hot? It is hot, but I don't have feeling in my hands. You guys need to use, woo, nice and hot. Just splash it right in, just a little bit, like half of it. Just give it a quick yet gentle stir. And this is going to not only activate the cocoa powder, but obviously add as the liquid to your cake. We're going to alternate this. Another little bit. Stirry, stirry. When I was a kid, chocolate cake was always the big thing that we made for birthdays.
Why should we alternate?
Why should we alternate? Great question. So we should alternate because it is easier to mix something, or rather to not overmix something when we just do a little bit at a time. Great question. Love that question. We should always end on the flour, though. I don't remember why. I used to know. Maybe one of you kids can Google that and tell me later, huh? All right. Right in there. I've ended with my flour. And I do 1, 2, 3, and then 3, 2, 1. And I think my grandmother taught me that. I don't know if it actually works, but there's something nice about memories like that. Okay, so now I've got my spatula, scraping everything in the bowl. I've got this delicious batter. This can do 2 8-inch rounds, about a dozen cupcakes, or 1 sheet pan. The reason I chose the sheet pan is because it is the easiest to decorate with limited resources when you don't have things like a cake wheel or cake boards or fancy tools. Just go ahead and do it this way, and I'm going to show you why. Ooh, I wish y'all could smell this. The heat from that water has activated that cocoa powder, and it is filling the room with this amazing chocolatey, just decadence. All right, I have 2 spatulas here. My cake spatula that I just used, my rubber spatula. And I am making sure I get it in every corner. This has been lined with parchment paper, which is going to make my life so much easier. You can pick up parchment paper at just about any any grocery store. Don't use wax paper though, okay? Because that has, well, wax on it. Not for baking. It's good for things like if you were to make chocolate covered strawberries or things like that. Okay. Doesn't this look great? Okay. So I'm smoothing it out so that way it's going to bake evenly. And again, my oven has been preheated. I've already thought ahead. While you can throw cakes together last minute, it's just easier for yourself and better for yourself if you can have a little bit of forethought for it. Because I think it shows when you show that you care, you know? All right. Boom, right here. All right, this is a little trick I'm gonna. This just ensures that I don't have any big bubbles of air in there. And it's gonna help me even it out. Chef Gary?
Yes?
Could I please have a timer for 25 minutes?
25 minutes it is.
Thank you. So this is gonna bake in here at a 350 oven for 25 minutes. But we don't just wanna sit here for 25 minutes, do we? Of course not. So I am going to come over here, give my spatula a really quick rinse. And you know what? Through the magic of television, you guys, would you believe I already have a cake prepared? Isn't that great? Y'all excited for that? Yeah? I'm excited. Gonna wipe my surface down really quick. So let's talk a little bit about cakes and cake fillings. Yep, that's the one. When you think of a cake, you have to sort of plan ahead a little bit. Which one? Chef Gary's going to put the cake that I made already. Thank you. And we're also going to have our little board over here. Yep, excuse me. Keep on turning my back to you. So this cake is the same sheet cake that we made, but it's been cut in half. This is only half of the cake that I did. So this is just baked wholly, chilled entirely. It's quite cold to the touch, cut in half. So from this, you can actually get like 2 layer cakes out of just one whole thing. Or you can get one big 4-layer cake that's really, really tall, which is cool. So anyway, back to cakes. So it's better when you work things with things that are cold. It really, really is. Just for a cleanliness standpoint, and it's just that much easier to work with. Speaking of cold things, I have that same beautiful chocolate ganache that I made 3 hours ahead of time, because that really is the amount of time you have. And you're going to see just how much this has come in together. Chef Gary, thank you. Now this has gotten quite thick. Ooh. It's a very suitable and delicious sort of frosting filling kind of thing. So I'm gonna have chocolate caramel with chocolate, but I don't know, that's sounding kind of heavy. What do you guys think? You think it's sounding heavy? Because I think it is. How about we add something that's really classic with chocolate cake? Let's get some strawberries in here. What do you guys think? Yeah? Anyone? Stepping away. Thank you. Got some nice strawberries, already chilled. And I'm just gonna hull these really quick. So just pop off the top. And just gonna chop them kind of finely, kind of small, just so we get a little bit of strawberry and everything. And this will also give this thing just a hair of time to warm up, just enough for me to work with it a little bit more easily. Now this is going to be a really cool trick, and I hope you guys take it with you. I'm not going to cut this in layers and stack it on top of each other. That would be fine, I guess, but I am all about working smart, not hard. So let's see how we can work a little bit smarter with this. So I know I want a chocolate cake. I know I want the cake to have chocolate strawberries in it. So I've got my flavors. Oh, and this is a little pro tip that they don't teach you. I think they taught this. I don't remember if they taught this to me in school, actually. I shouldn't say that they don't teach you this in school. Genuinely don't remember. So here's a nice, healthy, big, beautiful dollop of that ganache. Ugh, looks so good, right? Guys, you can say it looks good. It does. Thank you. Thank you. Nice. All right, so I am spreading this nice and thin. I don't want a huge, huge, hugely thick layer. I just want a little bit. And I'm thinking about how is this going to look in the end. You can have things like buttercream around this when it's all done. You can just frost with more of this ganache stuff. All up to you. Now that I've got all that happening, I'm just going to randomly sort of sprinkle my strawberries a little bit. Just want to make sure that every bite is the same. Looks good, right? Oh, I wish you guys could smell this. Yes, I do. And I'm looking and I'm watching and making sure that when I cut into this, every piece is going to be the same. I need some more strawberries. Look at that. Okay, so now I'm going to drizzle a little bit more over. Just a little, just to make sure I get some stickiness happening. Also, it kind of looks a little pretty. And you're going to see why this matters in a second. Okay. I think I want something else in there. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. Not going to overcomplicate it. All right, so I've got my knife. I measure things. You can obviously measure things with a ruler, of course, but I think it's easy, just as easy to measure it with my knife. So I kind of just watch and see about how long. When I put my finger where I think the middle is, I use my knife to just measure there, and I stand exactly over it, put my finger on the other side, and I make sure it's the same. It is, lucky me. And I'm just going to cut right down the middle of this. What is she doing? Okay. Ready for this magic? I just made a layer cake. It's already filled. You guys, it's already filled. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, please, please. I'm not worthy. All right. So that looks great. What should we do to finish it? What do we think? We could use buttercream. That would be nice. I'm going to add a little bit more chocolate, I think, to it. But I think for this kind of thing, we've already got a lot of richness and a lot of fattiness and a lot of really big flavors. So let's just go with something kind of light. So I'm going to get a little bit more chocolate right there. I'm going to rinse this off with some water, warm water, hot water. And Chef Gary, I'm going to ask you, my friend, I have already pre-made some whipped cream in a bowl. Fantastic. Now I'm going to heat this up on the stove, this spatula. When you heat up something, that's how professional bakers get that amazing, beautiful, sort of just perfect finish on cakes. It's just heavy cream that I've whipped up with a little bit of powdered sugar until it tripled in volume. So that's looking pretty good, right? I think I'm just gonna, so you just put a dollop on there, just to get it all together. All right, so now I'm filling in, it's so funny. I am filling in the edges of my cake, and this works exactly the same with buttercream. Can you use store-bought frosting? I mean, it's not illegal, but you already went through the trouble of making a beautiful cake. You might as well just make the real frosting. And whipped cream is a very nice way to finish a cake. It's really light and refreshing. And I'm going around all over. If I look at a cake and I say, I want to make that a little bit prettier, what's a really good, really easy way to do that? Sprinkles! Everybody loves sprinkles. And honestly, I just like to go nuts. So I'm literally going to take a cup of sprinkles. But I'm going to use my hand right here and kind of make a barrier and just pour. And just spread it over. And these sprinkles are going to look awesome. So this is cute. Should we do more? I think we should have some strawberries decorating the top. Let's just have some height, you know? Let's just go nuts with some stuff, huh? It's always good. And yes, less is more, but not with cake. I'm a big fan of the school of thought, go big or go home. I really, really am. So you can decorate this, of course, around the side. I kind of like it where we just have it sort of asymmetrical, kind of like this. And then I think I'm just going to drizzle. This is a suitable cake for a birthday party, for Tuesday, Wednesday, because it's Wednesday today. And it's looking messy now, but wait till you see it on a plate. Gonna just get all this. And this is why it's another reason to have cold things, because they're easier to move. Just lift it together. Boom! Thank you! And here we have a gorgeous chocolate caramel strawberry sprinkle cake. So this is just the same exact chocolate cake that I made before, chilled, cut in half, only I filled this one with whipped cream and strawberries. So this one's a little bit more simple, a little bit more elegant. So I know you can make all sorts of very pretty shapes with strawberries, with chocolate, whatever. There's a lot of things you can do with cake. Don't be afraid to experiment, you know? Because at the end of the day, you're going to eat it. All right. And now, I'm going to show you another lazy girl hack. When you trim a cake, because oftentimes you're going to need to trim corners, things like that, and I'll show you that a little bit when we get this guy out. They're going to have little crumbs. Save them. Save them, dry them in the oven, or just save them in a bowl. Because this makes a really cute decoration that adds a little bit of texture for your cake. It's a lovely chocolatey cake, not too sweet. The caramel has that wonderful nutty flavor. The strawberries fresh, a little bit sour. Clean finish of the whipped cream. Tiny crunch for the sprinkles. I do want to note that these are only guidelines. You can fill your cake with anything, as long as you know it goes with chocolate.
Thank you so much again for your participation today, and for the last 6 weeks between myself and Chef Kolika. The recipes have been fun, and we hope you've enjoyed each and every one of them. Just a quick note, please make sure to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook and on Instagram. Again, thank you so much for your participation. Have fun with this food, and goodbye.